We're also going to look at the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, the National Transportation Bill, the Health Insurance Amendment Bill. A lot of bills will be looked at.
Also tonight, court remands Senator Ndume in custody following Maynard's failure to appear once again. Good evening and welcome to the news at 9. Good to have you join us on the network service of the NTA. I am Kenan Ima Aborike, and reading with me tonight are Jennifer Igwe in Lagos, and waiting at our Ibadan studio is Kemi Oshin. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria is emerging stronger from the economic recession and expressed confidence in ongoing efforts to address factors responsible for the hyperinflation recently recorded by the country. Speaking at the opening of the 26th session of the Nigeria Economic Summit tagged Building Partnerships for Resilience, the Vice President said the Economic Sustainability Plan is private sector-led with a view to returning the economy of the path on sustained positive growth. Leah Katung Babatunde completes the story.
Gathered here in virtually are global policymakers, business leaders, development partners, scholars and youth for a big conversation for action on the Nigerian economy. Though the initial plans were around partnerships, the recession, a consequence of the coronavirus pandemic, was a key feature, and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo took time to itemize efforts by the government to build confidence and restore growth, among which is the reduction in levies for imported vehicles from 35% to 5%. A decision, he says, was taken to ease the cost of transportation, a prominent factor responsible for the sharp rise in inflation figures. He virtually declared the summit open with an assurance that the economic sustainability plan will achieve its target.
All the programs in the ESP, that's the Economic Sustainability Plan, are reliant on the private sector playing a key role in creating and conserving jobs and the production and delivery of services in agriculture, in housing, in solar power, and digital technologies, to mention just a few sectors. To take the example of agriculture, with the support of the banking sector, the federal government is working to organize finance for farmers, and we're also guaranteeing uptake of the produce. This is the mass agriculture program which the federal government has undertaken.
The summit is hinged on three pillars: collaboration, execution, and impact. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed is optimistic that the country will get out of recession by the first quarter of 2021.
Yes, through the vigorous implementation of the Economic Sustainability Plan and also ensuring that there is liquidity within the system, funding government's budget for all ministries, departments and agencies to implement their programs and projects.
We must rise to deliver our economy, and an economy that is worthy of our stewardship, and protect our population from the scourge of poverty and exclusion. No excuses, no ifs, no buts.
The subnationals are fully carried along in the conversation this year with a view to gain traction for Nigeria to meet the SDGs target by the year 2030. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatunde, NTA News.
At the meantime, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is deploying technological infrastructure to drive tax collection processes across the country and create a friendly network system for enhancing public confidence in its operations. These strategic innovations came to the fore at a media briefing to keep Nigerians in tune with the activities of the service on the 2020 tax projection benchmark. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The fact that tax is said to be the catalyst for growing the economy makes it mandatory for all eligible citizens to pay, as failure to comply threatens revenue generation and consequently stalls development. That explains the resolution of Federal Inland Revenue Service to deploy technology for effective coverage of tax territories and generate more revenues for the nation.
Strategies that will move tax administration forward, and part of the things we have done is to ensure that we deploy technology.
FRS directors took turn to brief the media on some of the deliberate measures adopted for improved tax administration and solution, while all taxable entities are being earmarked and issued with identity for coordinated tax regime. Tax evasion, fraud, stamp duties, and other criminal operations within the nation's tax institutions are currently put on constant check to address leakages and poor remittance.
From January to date, total revenue contributed to FAC by the four agencies responsible, which is NNPC, GPR, Nigerian Consumer Assembly, stood at 6.1 trillion naira. And out of this 6.1 trillion, 3.8 trillion came from FRS, that is 63% of the money.
The nation tax body says it has realized more than 90% of its 2020 IGR target and cleared more than 11 billion naira out of the 18 billion naira debt owed by the agency as it keeps working to entrench effective tax regime. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NT News.
Now, the federal government has formally protested to the management of cable news network CNN on the recent investigative report on the NSAS crisis. The letter was signed on behalf of the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, by the Special Assistant to the President, Office of the Minister, Shegu Adeyemi.
Addressed to Mr. Jonathan Hawkins, Vice President Communication, CNN Center, Atlanta, Georgia, the letter expressed the federal government's displeasure over the report, which CNN aired on the 18th of November. The federal government described the report as not only falling short of journalistic standards, it reinforces the disinformation going round on the issue as blatantly irresponsible and a poor piece of journalistic work by a reputable international news organization like the CNN. Drawing attention to certain facts that the report did not live up to basic core principles of journalism, which are balance and fairness. Rushing to air such a momentous story without presenting government side is inexcusable and indefensible, saying the claim by CNN that they contacted over 100 protesters and their family members and did not speak with any federal government official, the army, and the claim that Lagos state government officials declined comments. The truth, the federal government pointed out, is that CNN never made any attempt to reach the federal government, citing the reporter Nima El-Bagiru, who probably led the investigation, is conversant with Information and Culture Minister, who is a spokesperson for the federal government of Nigeria. To this end, the letter reads, "It is strange to say the least that NIMA will rush to air such an important investigative report without getting the government side. In other words, NIMA, and by extension CNN, breached the most basic of the core principles of journalism, balance and fairness." Another serious breach by CNN in its investigation is that the network relied heavily on unverified footages it harvested from social media, as neither its reporter nor cameraman was there, but it relied on eyewitnesses. Again, the letter drew CNN's attention to its official Twitter handle, which it tweeted on the 23rd of October that 38 people have been killed, only for CNN again to mention that one person was killed in its report. It is equally surprising that CNN had footages showing vehicles carrying soldiers left the barracks and how they arrived Lekki tollgate, but couldn't obtain footages of those killed. With CNN saying it stands by its report, the federal government of Nigeria finds this position baffling, considering the fact that the report lacks fairness and balance. This face-saving measure by respectable news network caught in the blinding glare of fake news and disinformation explains a high level of arrogance in defense. On CNN star eyewitness in the report, DJ Switch, CNN didn't know that DJ Switch's story on Lekki tollgate shooting has changed several times, from claiming she counted 78 bodies, later changed to 15, and now she's claiming 7. For CNN to hold on to DJ Switch as its witness, DJ Switch has credibility problem. Hence, she can't pass any integrity tests. Again, CNN, having obtained those footages, left out vital ingredients, as was the case in the Godson's 57 minutes 5 seconds video, where there were voices in the video telling Godson that the gunshots were not from soldiers, a valid point which should have made CNN not to go close to those footages. However, CNN was asked why it forgot to mention that 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were killed, while 196 policemen were injured, with monumental destruction of government and private properties during the NSAS protests. For the records, the federal government says this is not the first time CNN will be airing an inaccurate hoax story about Nigeria. In February 2007, Nigeria accused CNN of staging one of its reports from the Niger Delta region. CNN and its then African correspondent, Jeff Konangi, flatly denied the charge. In the end, that's the story today. So, as a form of remediation, the federal government of Nigeria demands an immediate and exhaustive investigation from CNN into its investigative report on Lekki Tollgate incident to determine, among others, its authenticity, whether or not it met the basic standards of journalism, and also the selective use of unverified social media videos to manipulate public opinion.
Digital literacy is the new language the world over, while upskill and reskill are the currency, and anyone who cannot fit in will be left behind. This came up at the commencement of a training for public servants that will handle the digitalization of government processes and documentation at the Bureau of Public Service Reform in Abuja. Adebola Bruskel Sunday reports that the trainees will serve as trainers for others.
Of documents, analysts say, is a convenient way to create more space in offices and make accessing files easier. A shift from hard copy documents to paperless office activities. The meeting is to set the pace for the digital shift for workers who are to identify and prepare documents for digitization, scan and transit the access documents into digital modes.
Will help government reduce cost of governance, improve the skills and capacity of public servants, increase transparency, fight corruption, open government in line with OGP commitment of this government.
We want to place Nigerians, especially the Nigerian workforce, the public servants, to be precise, on the same platform with the rest of the world.
A collective sustainability to ensure that lives are protected and means of incomes are also protected.
Matching words with action, first batch of 51 went into practical session on digital literacy, where my digital knowledge was also broadened as I joined the class.
I'm sure that my colleagues here will not take this opportunity for granted.
The transformation is targeted at ensuring an environmentally friendly workplace with better protection of documents from physical harm. Adebola Brooks Sunday, NTA News.
In the related development, public servants in the country are being brought up to speed on digital literacy in order for them to drive the nation's digital transformation as change agents in the various ministries, departments and agencies. The latest is the capacity building program put together by Galaxy Backbone in collaboration with NITDA, which was flagged off by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami.
This is also part of our national digital economy policy for a digital Nigeria. This is part of capacity building, is part of digital literacy and skills, also is part of service infrastructure, and is also part of our digital services. So it means that the program is in alignment with at least 3 pillars out of the 8 pillars of our national digital economy policy and strategy for a digital Nigeria.
Pay much more attention to the deliberations that are going to be made today so that the objective of the event will be achieved.
Having more digital organization in Nigeria, that's what will help us to achieve digital Nigeria.
Joseph Johnson reports that a 4-day training program has as its theme strengthening the digital drive in Nigeria's federal public sector using Galaxy Backbone digital service platform. And to the judiciary, where the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered that the APC senator representing Borno South in the National Assembly, Ali Ndume, be remanded in Kuje Correctional Center for his failure to produce the former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Tax Team, Abdul Rashid Maina, as his show team. Justice Okonabang delivered the ruling on Monday in the case of alleged fraud and money laundering preferred against him by the EFCC. Olabode Arewa reports that Maina has repeatedly failed to appear in court for continuation of his trial.
Senator representing Borno South Central District, Ali Ndume, sued Shorty for Abdulrashid Minor in his bid to obtain bail during Minor's trial for alleged theft of about 2 billion naira during his time as the chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team. Following Minor's jumping on bail, owing to his refusal to appear in court to attend to his case, the prosecution prayed the court to invoke the provisions of the bail bond signed by Senator Ndume that he would forfeit 500 million naira and supporting same with title documents to his property located in Asokoro, Abuja, to the government. The court, taking into cognizance the serious absence of Minor, ordered that the surety be remanded in Kuje Correctional Facility, pending when he forfeits the 500 million naira or the federal government disposes of the Asokoro property pledged in the bond or Minor is produced in courts.
Our client has been directed to be remanded in Kuje prison, and he has given us instructions to test the matter on appeal. We will so test it on appeal.
The case is adjourned to Tuesday, November 24th for continuation. Olabodarewa, NTA News.
You're watching the NTA Network News at 9. Time for our first break. Welcome back to the news, as we now tell you that the National Assembly is set to reconvene for plenary Tuesday, 24th of November 2020. The National Assembly had suspended a plenary in both chambers to enable standing committees focus on 2021 budget defense. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
On the 15th of October 2020, the National Assembly adjourned plenary to allow standing committees engage ministries, departments and agencies of government on the 2021 budget. Having concluded the budget scrutiny, both chambers are now ready to reconvene on Wednesday, the 24th of November 2020. Some issues are expected to receive immediate attention as soon as plenary resumes.
We have several reports from the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third for second readings and approvals, final readings for some of those institutions. So we'll be taking a look at that. PIBB will be our priority. I'm hoping that very, very soon we'll start paying strong attention to the PIBB.
We're also going to look at the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, the National Transportation Bill, the Health Insurance Amendment Bill. A lot of bills will be looked at.
Both chambers are optimistic of passing the 2021 budget before the end of this year.
Now that the National Assembly has been able to bring back the economic and the financial cycle to December-January cycle, then we cannot afford to reverse it. That is like an uncompromisable principle that we must all strive to achieve.
That's why we suspended plenary for committees to do detailed work, and all the committees have worked. By second week of December, I'm sure the appropriation committee will bring the reports to the Senate floor.
The Senate will also be expecting some executive communications for consideration from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
For Nigeria to break even and make significant progress in science and technology, funding for research should be prioritized. The House of Representatives Committee on Science and Technology said this at a meeting it convened with the Ministry of Finance and the Budget Office. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
This meeting is coming on the heels of the budget defense with the Ministry of Science and Technology and its agencies. The committee disclosed that budgetary allocation for research laboratories and centers is inadequate.
If you have a laboratory that will cost almost $1 billion and they're being allocated even less than 20 million, some are allocated 2 million, 7 million, what are the research centers going to do with that? And they came here crying. So we're all speaking on behalf of our research centers and the research institutes that if we want them to perform, we have to have a system of budgeting that encourages them to finish already existing projects.
Representatives from the Ministry of Finance and the Budget Office were not entertained by the committee, as it insisted that the heads should avail themselves to the committee, leading to rescheduling of the meeting. In another development, the Chairman House Committee on Aviation informed the press that operators and regulators in the aviation sector require 50 billion naira bailout to remain afloat.
The aviation requires huge capital infrastructural development. The remittance of 25% of the internally generated revenue should be retained for the next 10 years to help the agencies upgrade their facilities. The federal government 4 billion naira bailout to the airlines and some palliatives to the agencies not yet released is too small.
Lack of funds threatens the operations of the sector, which the committee stressed is key to the national economy. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Member representing Kaugama Malam Maduri Federal Constituency in Jigawa State, Maki Abubakar Yalaman, has empowered more than 1,600 people with business capitals and starter kits to boost the economy and to reduce unemployment among youth in the constituency. Mohammed Musa Askira reports that the event attracted national leadership of the House of Representatives.
The empowerment program, which is one of its kind to be sponsored by the federal lawmaker since his election, was an all-inclusive as women, youth and elderly persons benefited from the gesture. Items such as water pumping machine, power generators, tricycles, motorcycles and cars were distributed at the event. The lawmaker also doled out 10 million naira cash to boost small-scale entrepreneurs and help in fighting poverty in Kaugama and Malamaduri local government areas. The benefactor, Maki Abubakar Liman, stated that this is just the beginning of what he has in store for his constituents in the future.
They are those who elect us to go to the National Assembly, and we have to pay them back. And just this is the beginning. Inshallah, we'll continue doing the same thing that we did today.
Governor Muhammadu Badru Abubakar and Speaker House of Representatives, represented by the Deputy Speaker in company of other National Assembly members, described the representative Maki Abubakar as a compassionate leader who has his people at heart. Beneficiaries also expressed gratitude to the lawmaker for coming to their aid at such a critical moment. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has assured the government of Nasarawa State that his ministry will collaborate with the state in developing its tourism sector. The minister stated this when he granted audience to the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, Dr. Emmanuel Abadu in Abuja. Anthony Fosin was there.
Nasarawa State, the minister said, occupy a pride of place in the tourism space of the country. Hence, the need to develop the sector in the state for sustainable growth.
Because it shows the kind of importance Nasarawa State attaches to tourism and culture. And the truth of the matter is that we can avoid a lot of youth restlessness, protests, if we take advantage of tourism. Because tourism in its own right has the capacity to create jobs, has the capacity to create leisure.
To this end, Lai Mohammed said the federal government has awarded contract for the construction of a dam in the area, and with the latest collaboration to begin between Nasarawa State and his ministry. Earlier, the Nasarawa State Deputy Governor, Dr. Emmanuel Abadu, said Nasarawa is endowed with tourist sites, which, if well packaged, will become a global tourist destination, especially the Federal 4.
We're a growing state in need. There are many tourism potentials in Nasarawa State that are there unexploited. They are there unexplored. So we're here to seek the assistance of the Honourable Minister, the Ministry, and indeed the federal government to assist us.
He expressed displeasure at the rate with which the sector has been neglected and not given the right attention despite its capacity to create jobs and wealth. In Abuja, Anthony Fosin, NTA News.
In another development, Nigeria's rich culture and tourism potentials is moving into the new hub of economic resource that will accelerate development of the country. This is the consensus of dignitaries at the opening of the 2020 edition of National Festival of Art and Culture, holding in Jos, Plateau State. Priscilla Gurumnan reports that the theme is post-COVID-19 and cultural dynamism.
In 1970, the National Festival of Arts and Culture remains a veritable platform for the promotion of peace and unity, and also serves as an avenue for talent hunt, skills development, and showcasing Nigeria's rich cultural heritage. The theme for the 33rd edition of the festival is said to be apt, considering the need to identify other means of economic diversification within a rich and diverse cultural settings. Speakers stressed the fact that culture has the capacity to ameliorate challenges and changing the narratives of the nation.
Hosting this event in Plateau State is also another confirmation of the restored confidence that the people have in our state with the restoration of peace.
The presence of all the contingents from the 36 states signifies hope, signifies unity, and signifies peace for Nigeria.
Though we pass through the moment of difficulties of this time, I have hope. I believe there's a future for Nigeria. There is no point of us investing our money outside this country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with the beauty and glamour we saw today, is there any reason Nigeria should disagree?
As stakeholders in the arts and culture industry, we must adjust to the new norm and start looking inwards with a view to identify alternative resources for development.
The one-week festival, which has contingents from the 36 states of the country and the FCT, ends on Saturday, 28th November 2020. Priscilla Grumnan, NTA News.
Now, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Zulum has returned safely to Maiduguri following his visit to 5,000 recently resettled families in Baga town of Kakowa local government area of the state, where he distributed food items and 50 million naira to them. Mohammed Goni reports that this was the governor's third trip to Baga.
Professor Babagana Umar's visit to Baga, his attention was caught by the untiring commitment of 15 villagers who had been rendering volunteer healthcare services in supporting medical practitioners to cater for well-being of resettled displaced families. Governor Zulum was so impressed that after reviewing their selfless efforts, he directed Borno State Scholarship Board to fully fund the 15 volunteer workers, depending on their eligibility for admission and individual interests, to study medicine, nursing and midwifery at tertiary schools in Maiduguri, the state capital. The governor spent most part of his day and night in Baga town, supervising distribution of 50 million naira cash and food varieties to 5,000 resettled families with humanitarian needs. Each of the 5,000 households received food items and the cash support.
National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, as well as North-East Development Commission, while the state government has also complemented what they have given to us, and all the items were handed over to the entire community.
Aside humanitarian activities, the governor's visit was also to build community resilience and confidence among the returnees, during which he inspected ongoing reconstruction works and key projects that include Baga's General Hospital, where he directed speedy completion to meet healthcare needs of growing population in Baga. The governor also inspected all water facilities in Baga to ascertain functionality. At Government Girls Secondary School Baga, the governor ordered complete rehabilitation of the school. Governor Zulum was also at various military formations in Baga town to interact with the newly resettled communities and to boost the morale of the troops. The governor, who expressed commitment to restoring the means of livelihoods of the returnees, said the next target is to reach Baga Fish Dam, which is important in restoring means of livelihood for the people there, stressing that the current supply of food to the returnees is not sustainable in the long run. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
And still talking to security, troops of Operation Accord on clearance operation and Sabin Tunga and the Tambuske villages in Zamfara State have rescued 3 kidnapped victims. A statement by the coordinator of Defense Media Operations, Major General John Nenche, says the military has also eliminated 6 bandits in an encounter at Gobirawa. 11 suspected illegal miners were also apprehended following intelligence on their activities. 96 officers affected by the EndSARS protests are among the about 82,000 junior officers promoted by the Nigerian police force. A statement from the force public relations officer Frank Abbas says 16 of the victims got special posthumous promotion as a symbolic gesture in recognition of the ultimate price they paid and the service to the nation. The statement advised the officers to rededicate themselves to their professional calling and continue to carry out their duties diligently and in conformity with best practices and respect for the rights of the citizenry. For more reports, let's now join Jennifer in Lagos. Hello, Jennifer.
We'll start with the Third Mainland Bridge. Now, motorists and other road users are at this moment plying the completed section of the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, which was opened midnight to traffic. Dr. Oguyemi, who was on the bridge at the time of the opening, reports that motorists are being encouraged to cooperate with traffic management personnel and exercise patience as work on the second phase of the project shut down for repairs will be completed in 3 months.
After a successful 18-hour total closure of the Third Mainland Bridge, allowing the contractor to move its equipment from the completed carriageway to the island-bound carriageway, work is now set to commence for another 3 months for the second phase of the repairs. And at midnight, the barricades were placed, forcing motorists to make the hard but necessary decision to turn, as another partial closure of the Third Mainland Bridge is now effective.
And this is exactly what we are seeing. So the vehicle will now be diverting from here up to that vehicle you see is now going to the island. It's coming right from the Oworonsoki and it's going to the island. So that's exactly what we are going to achieve from this moment. We could have completed this project a month ago, but because of that protest, we had a delay of about 1 month. But if there is no any delay, definitely we are going to achieve the completion of this project in February 2021.
The Federal Controller of Works noted that all alternative routes and time schedule for morning and evening traffic diversions remain, as the Federal Road Safety Corps and other traffic management agencies will be on ground to ensure seamless flow of traffic during the period. In Lagos, Dr. Oguyemi, NTA News.
And on business, Nigerians deserve quality value for products and services, which is why the federal government is focused on ensuring this. The Director General of the Standards Organization of Nigeria reiterated this in Lagos while addressing traders on quality control. Joy Ken Abapoya has details.
Flux of fake and substandard products into the country has been a source of challenge to local manufacturers. To check this illegality, government has continued to intensify measures to counter importers of fake products. Collaborative efforts with stakeholders is one of several activities in place to stop the dubiousness. It is in line with this objective that the Standards Organization of Nigeria met with representatives of the Alaba International Amalgamated Traders Association in Lagos. While soliciting the understanding and support of the traders, the Director General SON made it clear that the federal government, through the Standards Organization of Nigeria, has the requisite capacity to tackle the menace of fake products.
We're going to the next level where when the stakeholders agree with us that we've tried, and then we have individuals that are still breaking the rules, then we enforce it through the courts, through the authorities in the country appropriately.
The traders who agreed that fake products have had negative impact on the economy over the years pledged to work harmoniously with government to frustrate the distribution network of such products in Nigerian markets.
We have agreed on terms on how to make the market substandard free. That's why we set up standard committee, we set up buyers beware, and we are making sure and double check that the two teams are working seriously.
The meeting is part of activities by the agency to promote quality assurance in Nigeria. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abapoya, NTA News.
We'll pause here for a break. The news will continue with Kene in Abuja afterwards.
Thank you for staying with us. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has advised Nigerians to suspend plans to travel for the Yuletide in order to prevent a surge in community transmission of COVID-19. PTF Chairman Boaz Mustafa at Monday's national briefing says only essential travels should be cautiously undertaken. Betari Ben reports.
The end-of-year festivities are usually synonymous with high passenger traffic, especially on the highways. With the new normal occasioned by COVID-19, the PTF is urging Nigerians to have a rethink this time around.
If it's not essential, just stay home and preserve yourself, so that by next year, when we would have gotten around and everybody, or substantially most Nigerians, are vaccinated, we can continue to enjoy future festivities.
You may ask, what is essential travel? Essential travel is if you have to travel for study, work purposes, health reasons, humanitarian, traveling in order to support critical infrastructure, economic services, and maintaining supply chain arrangements. Outside this, if you do not need to travel, please stay where you are.
In view of ongoing second wave of COVID-19 in Europe and other parts of the globe, the PTF says it is already considering a review of immigration protocols.
All this is to reduce the risk of COVID importation to a minimum.
Nigeria now ranks 9th on the continent for both the highest cumulative cases and deaths.
So far, 1 in every 200 corps members who showed up at various NYSC orientation camps tested positive for COVID-19.
None of them were allowed into the camps. All of them were excluded and either managed at home or in the treatment center, depending on if they had symptoms and what state they were in.
The PTF is appealing against irresponsible behavior among the citizenry as COVID-19 is still very much around. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Kemi is waiting with more reports at Ibadan. Over to you, Kemi.
And a warm welcome to Ibadan. Adoption of modern strategies for intelligence gathering in line with global best practices will strengthen internal security and combat evolving security issues. This tops discussion as security agencies in Oyo State gathered at the 2-Division Nigerian Army for efficient operational planning. Oyeyinka Omole reports.
Owing to difficulty often encountered by security agencies in interfacing with the public to gather intelligence, either during single or joint service operation, it was suggested that there is the need to adopt actionable methodology as the nation fashion out ways to strengthen its internal security.
Data management for increased efficiency, situation awareness for better decision, which provide means by which analysts, policymakers, and war fighters and first responders can rapidly orient and visualize their environment.
The role of the media in an internal security environment are also said to be important to generate public interest in synergizing with security agents.
You are aware of the contemporary security challenges bedeviling our great country. You, the participants, are well prepared to take the future responsibilities as staff officers.
It is believed that implementing such will guarantee an improved security. In Ibadan, Oyeyinka Omole, NTA News.
Federal government has continued to affirm commitment to tackling the challenge of unemployment among teeming youths in the country. It is against this backdrop that not less than 50 youths and women benefited from an empowerment training on pineapple production at the National Horticultural Research Institute, Ibadan. Here is the report.
The agricultural sector holds great potentials for investments. Therefore, providing unemployed youths and women with skills along this line will boost economic growth and national development.
At least we have lifted out not less than 50 Nigerians from
out of poverty, to be guiding them towards a way that they can empower themselves.
During gluts, we teach them how they can turn pineapple into fruit juice.
Nigeria has been identified as the leading producer of pineapple in Africa. Taking comparative advantage of the crop for capacity building has therefore been described as the right step in the right direction.
Not to be looking for white-collar job, you can, because we have a wide expanse of land. You can just go to your backyard and start cultivating pineapple.
We actually learned about how to produce the sucker, and it's from the sucker that we actually get the pineapple production.
The training, which is at the instance of the federal government, is expected to provide employment for young people and women in the commodity value chain of pineapple.
You're still watching Network News on the NTA. More reports after this timeout. Stay with us.
Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari warmly greets Nigeria's former High Commissioner to United Kingdom, Dr. Dalhatu Sariki Tafida, on his 80th birthday. In a statement, the President notes with commendation Dr. Tafida's contribution to national development as a medical doctor who worked with several hospitals in many states, rising to become a Minister of Health and personal physician to former President Shehu